Now we're looking at absolute values. This is part of our systems unit, um, and we're going to be graphing absolute values as part of our systems. So if we first need to look at what is an absolute value. So an absolute value is a number, some sort of number or numerical value that doesn't regard a sign, doesn't have a positive, doesn't have a negative. Um, so it always appears to be positive or unsigned. It's denoted, we write absolute value as square, or sorry, as these brackets. It's brackets that are just little lines. And we need to remember, this is the most important part here, that we need to assume that we're going to follow BEDMAS and that these lines are brackets. So you have to do inside the brackets first. Um, what does an absolute value do? Well, it always makes things positive. So negative 5 here, the absolute value of negative 5 is just 5. The absolute value of 3, it's a positive 3. The absolute value keeps it positive. So it makes a negative number positive, and it keeps a positive number positive. But we also have brackets. And so when we have brackets, like 4 minus 5, you have to do inside the brackets first. So absolute value of 4 minus 5 is the absolute value of negative 1. And then now we can actually do the absolute value. The absolute value of negative 1 is just 1. Moving on here, 5 minus 4, we have to do inside the brackets first. 5 minus 4 is 1, so I write that down. And I got to take the absolute value of 1. The absolute value of 1 is still 1. Continuing on here with example number 2, you have to do inside the brackets first. Well, there's nothing to do, so then you do the brackets. The absolute value of 5 is just 5. And the absolute value of the absolute value of negative 5 is just 5. The absolute value of negative 6 is just 6. And then it looks like there's a subtraction symbol that needs to come down. Then we have 5 minus 6. 5 minus 6 is negative 1. And that's that. We keep it as negative 1 because we did the absolute value of negative 5 first, positive 5, then we did the absolute value of negative 6, positive 6, and then we just subtracted the 2. Now we have this. We have to do what's inside the brackets first. We no longer can bring this 2 in or this negative 2 in. So we're going to leave this as 5 minus 2. And 3 minus 5 is going to be negative 2. Now, one of the things that most people would like to do is to go, well, 5 minus 2 is 3. And you're right, 5 minus 2 is 3. However, we have to remember that we have to follow BEDMAS. And BEDMAS says you have to do multiplication and division before any addition or subtraction. And right now, there's a times there. Now, you don't see the times. It's just there. Very much like if we had 2, 3. That says 2 times 3. There's a times there, but we don't write it because there's brackets already there. In the same way, there's already these brackets here. So we can't go 5 minus 2. We have to go 5 minus 2 times something. And we have to times by the absolute value of negative 2. Now the absolute value of negative 2 is just 2. So I took the absolute value and then I actually put it in round brackets to indicate that I've actually now eliminated the absolute value. Now BEDMAS says you got to do this first. So 5 minus 2 times 2 is 4. And now I can do the subtraction. 5 minus 4 is 1. So this is actually one of the most challenging. And the reason it's the most challenging is because so many people want to go 5 minus 2 is 3. And that's actually the last thing that we do. First we do the inside here. Then we actually evaluate that. Then we can multiply it. And after we do all of that, then we can do the subtraction. All right, moving on. There's nothing on the outside here. There's nothing that we need to worry about. There's no 5 minus 2 or something. There is, however, a ton of stuff on the inside. So I can't bring this 5 in. It's negative 5 because we're being squared here. So we have to do that. But let's actually do what's inside the brackets first. So I have the absolute value of negative 5. 4 minus 5 is going to be negative 1 squared plus 4. So the first thing I did was that. 4 minus 5. That's we do inside the brackets first for BEDMAS. Then we do the exponents, and luckily we have one right here. So we have negative 1 squared. So we got negative 5, and then negative 1 squared is 1 plus 4. So we've done the B in BEDMAS. We've done the E. Those are done. Now we can do there's no division. multiplication. So we'll do multiplication here. Negative 5 times 1 is negative 5. Now that's gone. And then we have addition or subtraction. And I've got addition here, negative 5. Negative 5 plus 4 is negative 1. And lastly, the absolute value of negative 1 is just 1. Perfect. So again, the order. We had to do inside, we had to do the brackets first. Then we did the exponent. Then we did the times. And lastly, we did the addition. Well, that was awkward. There's just my daughter asking for cake. So the answer was no, in case you were wondering. So here we go. Next question. All right. Well, we have to deal with the numerator and the denominator. So the numerator, we're going to have to do inside these absolute values first. And so we're going to start with the inside the brackets, the 3 minus 5. So we have the absolute value of 2, bracket, minus 4. Then we close the absolute value, minus 2. And then we got to do inside these brackets here, 3 minus 5 is negative 2. Then, in here, we have 2 times negative 2, which is negative 4. Minus 4, minus 2. And then I'm going to kind of come up here a little bit. Negative 4 and negative 4 is going to be negative 8. So the absolute value of negative 8 minus 2. Now the absolute value of negative 8, we can actually do that. That's going to be 8 minus 2. And 8 minus 2 is 6. Now we can do the bottom. And again, people want to do that 5 minus 2 first to make it a 3. But we can't because there is a multiplication here, so we have to do the multiplication first. Unfortunately, we can't do the multiplication until we've done the absolute value on the inside there. So the first thing we're going to do is inside these brackets for B for BEDMAS. B is brackets, so inside these, 3 minus 5 is 2, negative 2. So we've got inside the brackets or inside the absolute values, we've got, negative 2. And then there's a 5 minus 2 out in front. Now we have 5 minus 2. The absolute value of negative 2 is just 2. So we have 5 minus 4. 5 minus 4 is going to be a 1. And so this is 6 over 1, which is just 6. So I would say B, C, and D are definitely the most complicated. So you want to make sure you redo those so you have a really good understanding.